All right. Hey, class. I just remembered there was a question asked during the live session about this question here asked by, I think was a Chris Ceravola. Please forgive me if I mispronounce your name, but you were asking, is it possible to show an example of using the inspect feature on the Chrome browser to find JavaScript associated with a dynamic element on the web page? And I mentioned to you that I would do that at the end of the session, but I completely forgot about it. So I want to do that just to show you, how this works and where it shows on the web page and the inspector. So I guess the thing you want to look at is what is a dynamic element, right? So a great question for those of you who are not familiar with this. A dynamic element is, in my understanding, is an element which is an HTML element that you generate on a web page dynamically using JavaScript. Okay, so when you render that to the browser, you are able to attach a JavaScript event directly to this element. So you can actually see the function that is associated with it. I'm not sure if you can see the entire code. If you click on it, maybe you'll see it. But I'm going to see if this is what you were asking for. And if it's not, please let me know. All right. So first, I'm going to build something here very quickly to show you. You are more than welcome to skip or move fast forward until you see the end result. But I'm going to show you also how you can create dynamic element by using JavaScript and at the same time attach events to this. So we'll do something a little bit more this in the next week or the week after that. But I do want to show you how this could be done. All right. So in my script here, my page here, in the body of the document here, I'm going to show you, I'm going to build everything dynamically using just JavaScript. Not everything, but I mean like the buttons and things like that. I'll do something very simple. So up here, I'm going to add my script first. Okay. And inside here, I'm going to create a file. I'll just put in the same directory is okay. I'll call it, we'll call it what? Just say event script. Okay. Doesn't really matter, I guess. And this will be inside the root directory of the demo folder. So I'm going to add that here. At the same time, I'm going to defer this. Now, the defer directive here, just to tell the engine that don't run this script until the DOM has been rendered to the screen. Okay, and there is a reason why for that. And we'll talk about that later. But I want to defer so it runs at the end. So notice if I save and run this file in the terminal over here, and output is nothing here, right? As you can see, if I type something, see the result here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is going to build a run script to render a button right here on the page dynamically, right? So I'm going to go into my script file. I'm going to create one file called event. I misspelled event script.js. I'm going to fix it. Okay. So let's fix the name to be event underscore. Yes. Okay. So in the script over here, I need to target the DOM, and this is I guess a precursor to our next session. Is I'm going to target the body. I'm going to add within the body. I'm going to insert or inject a button right in here. Okay, so this is what you usually do. Okay, you can create a constant. We learned that a little bit. I'll call this the first button, and this is going to be an element. So you can create an element using the document.create element function. You pass in here the name of the element. In this case, it's a button. So basically, it's going to build the button tag. Okay, so once you do that, then you're going to add the content within the button. So if you look at the button, if I were to create one for now, just see really quick like that, right? I want to add something like, add a new button like that. You want to build this tag so it will show up here, but dynamically. Okay, so the content here, maybe I also want to add like an on-click event so that it will load a function like add button like this. Okay, so that is what you do, right? So I'm attaching the event, click event with the function called add button. So when I click this button, it's going to fire this function and do something to the screen, right? So that's what I want to do, but I want to do everything dynamically. Okay, so back in here, then this is the button creation. I can then go ahead and add the content. In this case, would be the inner HTML, right? Equal to the word or the phrase add new button. That is going to go between the button tags. I want to add the attribute called onClick. So you do first button dot set attribute. This one allows you to set the onClick event. And then this is the key. The value will be a function called add, called add button. Okay, like that. You invoke the function, and then and basically that's how you create one. And then finally, you're going to add this button to the DOM, meaning you're going to add it to the body of the document. So you can do something like this: document.body. It attaches to the body. You use the append child function, and you add the first button to that. And you see here in the browser, it's right here already. Okay, so right now it's active. And I can't really see here, so I'm going to launch on the browser. You can see it. And hopefully it shows up here like this. Okay, so here's the button, the browser. And I will leave it here. And maybe I'll shrink this one so you can see a little bit better also. There. All right. Okay, I'll make this a little bit smaller too. All right, so we have the button created there, and I will close this side. Now, that is the button. When I press the F12 key on this side, let me move it to the bottom so you can see the console as well. It's, and the element. If you inspect that, you're going to see that this button, okay, is in the element of the DOM. But if you look at the actual source code in the HTML file, there's really nothing there, right? In the body, as you can see, I know it's kind of small, but there's nothing inside the tree because this is the physical DOM. That's exactly what you see here, right? Whatever I have here is exactly here, but in the actual DOM itself, you see the button has been added dynamically. The onClick event is attached to this button with a function called add button and the text here. So this is the dynamic element as if you've heard a while ago. Okay, so this function add button is JavaScript. And so in this way, it's attached itself to the element. So when you click this button, it's going to call a function. So I have to create a function here somewhere called add button. And then inside this add button, what am I going to do? I'm going to create another button. For example, when I keep adding new button, maybe I'll keep appending to this list here. So we can do something like the following. I'll do another constant called btn. This is also going to create a new button, just like above. Okay, new button. And then I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to attach it. Let me close this, have more space. I'm going to attach, it's the same word as above, btn.innerHTML. It's assigned with the words, maybe a new button. And I keep adding more and more to that. So I want to add like new button 1, button 2, button 3. So you can do something like this. You can add I'll create a button buttons list, and I get the length of that buttons list. Okay, so like up here in the global space, I can create a constant buttons and create a list of buttons. Okay, right now it's empty, so it would say 0 and 1 and 2 and so forth here. Okay, but the button length, it'll be 0 because it initially started with 0. So before that, I'm gonna do something like this: buttons dot push. I'm gonna push to this array the buttons dot length +1. So it'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Dynamically, I added 1 to this, so I'll keep pushing that length, and it's keep growing. And then once I cite the inner text that I want, then I'm going to do the same thing as above. Going to set the attribute, and maybe I'll add a class attribute, right? And we'll call this I don't know, my event class, and we'll style it, right? You can even add like ID. Let's say attribute ID event, and we'll call it maybe btn plus a dash, and then you're going to plus the same as above, the buttons length, right? So it's unique as you add to the DOM. And then finally, you're going to add it to the DOM. So again, document.append child, element called btn. Okay, so this button here will be added, but only when we click this button here. okay? And so if I save it now and launch the browser, and if I below click on it, you see that, okay, there's an error. Append child is a node. Okay, so let's see, I did something wrong here. Element create that one there. Let's see, let's try to save that one more time. All right, okay, event like 14 doesn't like, oh, I forgot about it, sorry. Yeah, I can add it to the document. All right, so you see that I add a new button. If I keep doing that, you see a button 2, button 3. So all these are generated dynamically. Now I did not add any event to this yet, so they are not attached to any event. If I click on it, nothing happens. But you can also do a lot more. As you build this button, you can add event directly to it. So right here, before I add to the body or after, it doesn't really matter when. Maybe you commonly you can do above. So I can do something like btn, just like above. I want to add a add event listener. It's going to be a click event, okay? And when I click on that event, then I'm going to do some stuff. So do stuff. So another function, a callback function, I can add outside here, or you can add directly inside here as a call as an anonymous function. But let's say we do outside here. So do stuff. And this function will do something very similar, very simple. It's going to grab, let's say I'm going to grab the name of the button and just display in the browser here, the console, okay? So we'll do something like that. So here, when I do the add event listener function here, I'm adding something called object called this. This will point to this particular button. So every time you add a new button, it generates this all the time. So here, what I'm saying is this, if I go ahead and do like, if I put here let const data is equal to this.inner HTML. Okay, this is the content of this button, whatever I have, which is new button 1, new button 2, and so forth, right? So whichever button I click will be that content. I got the data, and then I'm going to go ahead and add event listener to this button. Right. Oh, actually, no. Yeah, I'm going to basically console log that, right? So just for this very simple application. So load the data, and then we'll see that out here when you click the button. Okay, so if I save this now and refresh my page and see the console down here, click that one. If I click button 1, you will see the content now, new button 1, add another one, button 2, and so forth. So you can see that they are added to those events. Okay, so now how do you see the scripts in here? So it's not really as nice as you would see like in the CSS rule here. Notice when I click on any of these buttons here, I can see the CSS side. If I add any CSS to it, which I did not, I could create a style sheet for the event, my event. It will apply to all of these, like one of the questions someone asked during the session as well. So once you add this style rule, it will apply to your dynamic element. But to see the function that is associated with these buttons, you can go over here on the, I think on the event listeners tab over here, okay? And if you, again, just click on any one of these, like the first one here, if you drill down on the click event, you're gonna see right down here, if you keep expanding that, you see the handler function. It says the F here, and is associated with a function called do stuff. Okay, so that is where this is. So if you look at do stuff, that is the function that we created down here. Okay, so I'm not sure if there's another way how to show this, but as far as I know, this is how you actually show events directly associated with an element. Because to do that, it has to be an event. Otherwise, JavaScript has no way of knowing which button or which element to really associate with. Okay, so usually it's from the client side to the script side via the event. If you're going from the code side out to the DOM, then we call the data binding. You're binding from the source out to the view, and in that way, the view has no way of knowing where it's coming from. But now I'm binding from the out with the view to the source. So you bind it through event, and usually through the event handler. And here we go. Okay, so all these here are associated with the same function because that's how I created you could have it create so that it renders different function, based on certain random numbers and so forth here. But all right, so that is I wanted to show, and I'm not sure again if this answers your question, but please let me know if not, and I'm more than happy to clarify further. So thank you. I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you next time in class.